Hi everyone, my name is Ben. I was an intern at NSPG from 2009 to 2010. I came to NSPG only for 10 months, but I can say that this was one of the most rewarding periods of time in my life. I was part of a youth ministry program for Columbia Bible College, and I was training to be a youth pastor. So throughout the years, there are a lot of times when I can remember the things that I've done at NSPG and the things that I've learned at NSPG that helped me to be who I am today. Like, for example, my first sermon that I ever preached was at NSPG, and I can still remember how nerve-wracking that was. But from then on, I can remember perfecting and changing and growing to become who I am today. And so NSPG is where it all started for me. Learning the different people, learning the youth culture, and learning what it means to pastor. All these things started at NSPG. Not only were people welcoming, they were able to help me develop as a person and help me grow as a pastor. And so I am very grateful for all that NSPG has done for me. And I hope that I didn't influence you guys too negatively. I pray that, whatever I said that was in my youth that was incorrect at that time, I pray that, God would remove that from your minds. The influence that I had on you, if I had done anything in my own youth that was against Christ, I pray that you would have changed by now. And it was a great place for me not only to learn, but also to build lifelong friendships. We still keep in touch with many of our friends at NSPG, and I hope you guys are doing well. Like I said, it was one of the best experiences of my life, and there was a lot of period of growth. And I want to thank everyone for inviting me and being to be part of their lives, and also for all the help that you've given me over the years. NSPG has springboarded my ministry career. This was my first placement. I was 21 at the time. I had no ministry experience, and to be welcomed, to be called a friend, to be called pastor, to be able to provide leadership was one of the best gifts that the church could have given me. To build EM, to build the youth ministry by myself, I would have failed. But God had different plans. I realized that I was going to need God to step in, and it was going to be God who was going to build, because at that time, when I started, I was 21 years old. I had very little experience. I was a little bit overwhelmed. But when I realized that God was going to go before us, and it was God who was going to do the building, that's when things started to go well. Maybe a lot of you don't know, but when I first started at NSPG, I actually taped all of the names of all of the youth onto the wall. And why I did that was because I wanted to learn and also pray for every one of the people that were part of the church. We started with prayer. And from there, we started to get to know people. I'm very thankful for all the families that invited me over for dinner. I remember being one of those people that would just hop to different houses. I was 21. I didn't really cook at that time. And so I'd go around to different people's houses and have a meal with them. And if people invited me over for dinner, I would definitely say yes. And I think the fellowship and all the different relationships started building out of those meetings and out of those times where we got to hang out together. I can remember the first few times being very overwhelmed with youth, right? If I'm sitting there and there's like 20 other youth and, no one's listening, everybody is just talking over each other, it was a little bit overwhelming. But at the very end, I can remember us all coming together, and us being a community where we wanted to know about each other. We wanted to know more about Christ, and we wanted to build the church. And so that was a drastic change for 10 months. One of the biggest lessons that came out from my experience at NSPG is that God is sovereign. Being very young in ministry and still learning as an intern, if God was able to use us as a church to be able to grow, to be able to do the things that we did, God had a hand in every single thing that we did. It was God who was in the middle of everything, teaching us, leading us, guiding us, and making sure that we would have our hearts towards Him and to look towards Him in everything that we do. And so if God could use a 21-year-old me who didn't know anything about ministry, and to be able to see you guys now as a church, to be able to meet the people that I knew at, grade 10, grade 8s, at that time when I knew you guys. If I had known you guys would turn out to be the people that you are today, it all had to have been God. God is sovereign and God is good. And it is God who enabled us to do all these things and for us to experience NSPG together. And this is one of the greatest blessings that I've had. And I just want to thank you guys and to say that, you guys will always be a part of my life. And you guys will always be a part of my prayers. As you guys continue to learn more about God and to follow Him, I pray that, 10, 20 years down the road, that you would be even more mature, that you would grow to love God even more, and that you would never stop loving the church and the people in the church. And I pray that as we, celebrate, that not only do we get to look back, but we also get to look forward and to make sure that we keep our eyes on Christ, and everything that we do, we want to focus on Jesus, because He is the only thing that matters and He is the center of everything that we do.